Welcome. In this episode, we're unraveling the horror and action film Renfield. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated. Let's dive in. The movie begins with a scene set in a support group for individuals trapped in abusive relationships. One of the attendees is a man named Robert Montague Renfield. He then takes us on a journey back in time to the start of his tale. Many centuries ago, Renfield was a lawyer who had the opportunity to strike a beneficial deal for his family with a certain count. This count happened to be none other than Dracula, often referred to as the Prince of Darkness. Following Renfield's demonstration of his usefulness, Dracula chose him as his loyal companion, granting him immortality, along with enhanced strength and speed, whenever he consumes insects. From time to time, hunters appear with the intention of eliminating Dracula. However, the Count manages to persuade Renfield that he would face imprisonment if Dracula were killed, given his role in assisting him. In a chilling sequence, Renfield is shown breaking a protective salt ring that had confined Dracula, enabling him to transform into smoke, and gruesomely dispatching a priest by causing him to explode into pieces. Dracula then turns his attention to another hunter, but he is exposed to sunlight, causing him to burn and allowing him to engulf the hunter in flames. Renfield intervenes to extinguish the fire. To evade relentless pursuit by other hunters, they are forced to relocate frequently, and Renfield decides to lead them to New Orleans, giving Dracula the time he needs to regain his full strength. However, Renfield has become worn out and drained from procuring victims for his master. In the support group, a woman named Caitlin shares her struggles with her drug-addicted boyfriend Mitch. This prompts Renfield to rethink his actions and decide that he'd feel less guilt about delivering criminals to Dracula rather than innocent people. He tracks down Mitch and his associates at a warehouse, where he incapacitates two of them. Unfortunately, Mitch is killed by a professional assassin named Apache Joe. Renfield, in the process, sustains a deep gash across his abdomen from Joe's attack. However, he quickly consumes a bug, harnessing its power to gain immense strength, and with a single powerful blow, he decapitates Joe, sending his head flying towards the car of a local gangster named Teddy Lobo, who promptly flees the chaotic scene. Officer Rebecca Quincy and her partner, Chris, are conducting DUI, drunk driving, checks in the vicinity when they spot Teddy driving nearby. Rebecca recognizes him, and given the substantial amount of cocaine in his car, Teddy attempts to flee the scene. In response, Rebecca shoots out his tires, forcing Teddy to abandon his vehicle and run on foot. As he makes a desperate escape, Rebecca hurls her baton at his head, successfully rendering him unconscious. Renfield returns to Dracula with Mitch's friends and the headless corpse of Joe. However, to Renfield's dismay, Dracula dismisses them because they are drug addicts. Instead, he insists that Renfield procure innocent victims like nuns or cheerleaders for him. In an unsettling turn of events, Dracula slices Renfield at the same location where Joe had wounded him, nearly disemboweling him. Yet he then offers Renfield his blood, which possesses remarkable healing properties, ultimately saving Renfield from his grievous injury. The Lobos gang decides to hire a skilled lawyer to secure Teddy's release, fearing that he might expose their criminal family's operations. This case holds a deeply personal significance for Rebecca because the Lobos were responsible for the murder of her father, who had been a highly decorated captain in the police force. Her sister Kate, who works for the FBI, shares her desire to bring down the Lobos but emphasizes the importance of maintaining professionalism and not allowing their anger to cloud their judgment and actions. Teddy returns to his mother, Bella, who happens to be the leader of the Lobos gang. Bella recognizes the imminent threat that Rebecca poses to their criminal operation and advises Teddy that they must find a way to eliminate her before she can bring them down. Rebecca conducts an independent investigation of the crime scene, while Renfield reluctantly heads to a nearby restaurant to scout out potential innocent victims for Dracula. Rebecca and her partner Chris arrive at the restaurant after finding a pen at a crime scene that Renfield had used, which came from the same restaurant. Teddy and his fellow Lobos gang members also show up at the restaurant with guns drawn and a plan to eliminate Rebecca. Teddy threatens her. Fearlessly, Rebecca challenges Teddy to pull the trigger, doubting that he has ever actually shot anyone before. In the midst of this tense standoff, Renfield consumes a fly and takes action, tackling Teddy and giving Rebecca an opening to fight back. Renfield uses his strength to disarm the Lobos members, severing limbs and using forks as weapons to dispatch them. All of them are killed except for Teddy, who manages to escape. Grateful for Renfield's assistance, Rebecca expresses her thanks, and it becomes evident that Renfield may have developed feelings for her. Renfield returns to his hideout, where Dracula has claimed some victims, to partially restore his true form. It's at this point that Dracula reveals his grand plan to Renfield. Driven by his ambition, Dracula intends to take over the world once he regains his full power. His vision involves creating a vast army of familiars, individuals like Renfield, who will be compelled to carry out his every command, thereby solidifying his dominance over the entire world. Renfield goes back to the support group session and opens up about his complicated relationship with Dracula, describing him simply as his boss. The group members provide support and encouragement to Renfield, advising him to take steps to rebuild his life independently from Dracula. This includes finding his own apartment and actively seeking out sources of happiness and fulfillment that are separate from the influence of his boss. Rebecca gathers all the witnesses from the restaurant to provide their testimonies. However, she's aware that there are corrupt cops within the police force who are on the Lobos gang's payroll, and they have been tampering with evidence to protect their criminal associates. Renfield arrives to give his testimony, and he brings a bouquet of flowers as a gesture of goodwill towards Rebecca. Later on, Rebecca takes the bloody pen, which was found at the crime scene, to her sister Kate for processing as potential evidence in their investigation. Bella instructs Teddy to track down the individual responsible for the deaths of her henchmen. Teddy, along with other Lobos gang members, is dispatched to locate Renfield. They eventually arrive at Renfield's hideout, where they encounter Dracula. In a horrifying turn of events, Dracula preys on and consumes all the Lobos gang members, except for Teddy. When Teddy discloses that he is there to target Renfield, Dracula becomes furious and feels deeply betrayed by his own assistant. Dracula makes an unexpected appearance at Renfield's apartment, casually entering because there's a welcome mat in front of the door. He reproaches Renfield for his attempts to break free and establish independence. Dracula goes further, accusing Renfield of being the true monster for abandoning his wife and daughter to serve as his assistant. In a desperate attempt to assert himself, Renfield tries to employ strategies he learned from a book provided by the support group. However, Dracula quickly seizes the book and discovers a sticker inside that reveals the location of the church where the group meets. Realizing the danger, Renfield rushes after Dracula, hoping to confront him and prevent further harm. Renfield hurries to the church in a frantic effort to warn the support group and ensure their safety. However, when Dracula arrives, a tragic mistake occurs as the group leader, Mark, inadvertently invites the Count inside. In a horrifying turn of events, Dracula reveals his true identity to the group before mercilessly slaughtering every member and feeding off their blood. After this gruesome ordeal, Dracula taunts Renfield, reveling in his apparent victory, before departing. Moments later, Rebecca and Chris arrive at the church, only to find the horrifying aftermath. Mistakenly believing that Renfield is responsible for the massacre, they proceed to arrest him for the gruesome deaths of the support group members. A police convoy, led by Bella and the Lobos gang, arrives, confirming Rebecca's suspicions of collusion with corrupt cops like Chris and Captain Browning. Browning tries to recruit her, but she rejects their corruption. To divert attention, she shoots a transformer, causing chaos. Amid the chaos, Rebecca and Renfield escape, with Rebecca sustaining a shoulder injury, but ultimately evading the corrupt forces. Dracula returns to Teddy and strikes an alliance with the Lobos gang. They agree to join forces, with the Count offering his assistance to help the Lobos achieve their objectives, while he, in turn, gains their support in amassing an army to carry out his ambitious plans for world conquest. Renfield brings Rebecca to his apartment as a hiding place. To build trust, he remains handcuffed, and he takes this opportunity to confess that he has been in the service of Dracula for centuries, revealing the extent of his dark past and his connection to the vampire. During this tense moment, Rebecca receives a call from her sister Kate, who provides a crucial piece of information. Kate informs her that the DNA found on the pen is linked to murders that have occurred across the world for decades. Renfield and Rebecca make their way out of the apartment, but their escape is abruptly interrupted when a corrupt SWAT team of police officers storms the complex, intent on capturing them. In a shocking turn, Renfield consumes ants, which triggers a transformation. Driven by an uncontrollable frenzy, Renfield proceeds to ruthlessly eliminate the corrupt cops. He tears them apart, ripping limbs from their bodies, impaling two individuals with severed arms, gruesomely tearing a man's face off, and stomping on heads. Although Rebecca is horrified, she's grateful for their escape from imminent danger. Teddy introduces Dracula to his mother, Bella, during their meeting. Dracula unveils his true identity to Bella, who is clearly impressed by the presence and power of the legendary vampire. Renfield and Rebecca find themselves in a public place where Renfield opens up about his past and expresses deep regret for leaving his wife and daughter behind when he pursued his own selfish desires. As they converse, Dracula communicates with Renfield telepathically, taunting him. Rebecca attempts to call her sister Kate for help. However, Bella answers the call and reveals that they have Kate in custody. In response, Rebecca and Renfield prepare themselves, arming up and getting ready to confront Dracula and the Lobos gang. Upon arriving at the Lobos' headquarters, Teddy and the other Lobos gang members have been transformed into familiars with supernatural abilities. Rebecca rushes to locate her sister Kate, while Renfield faces off against the empowered Lobos. Renfield engages in a brutal battle, dispatching each member of the Lobos gang until only Teddy remains. Teddy, reveling in his newfound powers, taunts Renfield, but Renfield describes the powers as a curse rather than a blessing. Teddy gains the upper hand, but Renfield resorts to consuming a bug for strength. He mercilessly kicks Teddy until he spits blood and shits himself to death. Rebecca discovers her sister Kate has been brutally beaten by the Lobos and is already dead. Dracula attempts to manipulate Rebecca into joining his side, promising to use his blood to revive Kate. Renfield arrives and witnesses the scene. As Rebecca pretends to consider Dracula's offer, her true intention is to expose Dracula to sunlight, his ultimate weakness. In response, Dracula transforms into a bat and flees, but Rebecca and Renfield manage to catch up to him. Dracula incapacitates Renfield by knocking him out and then attempts to kill Rebecca. However, she manages to shoot Dracula in the foot, causing him to bleed onto Renfield. Renfield, empowered by Dracula's blood, he proceeds to brutally rip out Dracula's fangs and smash his face in. With Dracula weakened, Rebecca takes further action by trapping him within a ring of cocaine after uttering an incantation. Together, Renfield and Rebecca unleash their fury upon Dracula, beating him mercilessly and reducing him to a pulp. To ensure his permanent demise, they rip him to shreds before disposing of his remains in cement and casting them into a sewer. Rebecca and Renfield utilize Dracula's blood to successfully revive Kate. Kate and Rebecca proceed to apprehend Bella, the leader of the Lobos gang, bringing her to justice for her crimes. They've put their father's killer behind bars, a moment that would surely make him proud. Renfield later uses Dracula's blood to revive the members of the support group, who express gratitude for being brought back to life, although they are traumatized by the experience of death. Renfield and Rebecca develop a close friendship. Renfield prepares to embark on a fresh start as a free man, leaving his dark past behind and looking forward to a brighter future. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more cinematic adventures.